Well, today is day, let's see, 286 in our journey through the Word. And just one phrase in today's that just has stuck with me. If you can. And I had to think, how many times do we come to God and say, if you can? Not literally with those three words, but with our actions, with our thoughts, with our conversations with others. There are times even when in my prayers to God, where I use the word but, and I felt God convicted me even with that, made me question, was I saying, if you can? Again, we have a Father coming and pleading to Christ to heal his Son. Have mercy on us and help us if you can. And you know, Jesus did not say, if you don't believe, then I'm not going to. But Jesus does question him. What do you mean, if I can? Anything is possible if a person believes. And the Father said, I believe, and help me in my unbelief. Help me in my unbelief. And maybe that's the prayer we need to have before our Father, is help me in my unbelief. Because Jesus goes on to say, even if we had the faith of the size of a mustard seed, we could move a mountain. And you know what? We move mountains with our prayers. Maybe not physical mountains, but we don't know the spiritual mountains that are moved because of the faithfulness of the prayer of the saints. But our prayer also needs to be, in our prayers, is help us in our unbelief. We know Jesus can. We know that he does. The other part of the lesson today was the arguing between the disciples about who was the greatest. It's like, really? Is that really that important? But you know, there are times in our life where we like to be recognized for who we are or the position that we hold. Maybe not in a point of pride, but it's nice to have some type of recognition. I'm not quite sure that their conversation wasn't a prideful conversation, but it was interesting that Jesus, and greatness is defined, I got in, greatness is defined as a person who has achieved importance or distinction in a field. Recently spent time in an emergency room with my mother. And it was interesting because as the first doctor came through and did all the first assessments, and we'd give a point of distinction, of importance to doctors, to our medical doctors, because of their knowledge. But it was interesting when the young lady finished, she said, let me take this to my boss, and we will get back to you. Interesting, because here comes that young lady and her boss, and that doctor does her evaluation, and she says, let me take this to my boss. Each of which of these ladies we gave great respect because they were doctors. But they also knew that there was somebody of higher authority above them. And Jesus calls together, in our reading today, the young child. And he calls them, he sits them in his lap. And he says, so anyone who becomes as humble as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And I looked up in Bible dictionary the word humility. And humility in the Old Testament is the conviction that one who has humility will not be overly concerned about his or her prestige. And that's what these disciples were arguing about. That's what we want sometimes, is the point of prestige. And Jesus says, anyone who becomes as humble as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. We know children are not worried about prestige. We like that as we grow older. But a young child has faith. A young child, if we will become humble as a little child, we will become the greatest in heaven. Whoever is the least among you, Jesus said, is the greatest. Your words for us to think about today. Words straight from Jesus Christ, straight from the throne room of God. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow as we continue our journey through the Word.